Hello and welcome to the Everyone Has a Story podcast. Do you remember back in those days when you're grade school, maybe junior high, and maybe sometimes high school, where you couldn't help but just keep watching the clock because whatever class you were taking, whatever you're doing, just didn't inspire you. And all you could think about is maybe going out and play at recess, maybe go to your sports if you're in a sporting event or something like that. But really, school was the last place you want to be. So now let's fast forward about 10, 15, 20 years. And now you're in the corporate world. You're now working for someone else. Maybe you're doing something that you like, that you thought you were going to like for the rest of your life. And all of a sudden you just start to feel like, you know what, this doesn't make me want to wake up anymore. I don't want to go to bed anymore or wake up from bed anymore. Don't want to go to work. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because too many people here, especially most recently, we have found that a lot of those people are having a trouble. There's a lot of the workforce is having trouble getting up and being inspired to go to work. And sometimes it causes health issues. Sometimes it causes breakups in relationships or marriages. But whatever the case is, we need to talk about finding that inner sanctum within us, finding what really inspires us today. And our guest today she's got an answer for that. Actually, kind of a fun answer to that, kind of a cool answer to that, kind of a place you want to go to answer that. And I've been asking her for a part-time job just because I think what she does is really damn cool. And I want to be there every day to help out and live the island life. So that's what we're going to talk about today is retreats and really what they can do for us to really get ourselves centered, balanced, and really thinking about doing something else besides that mundane job that we're doing every day. So with that being said, let me introduce you to Georgia St.John-Smith, my guest speaker today. Georgia, how are you?
I'm fabulous, and you are hired.
Perfect. I'm there, and yeah, I know you can. I know you can afford me. So Georgia is the founder of Sancti Retreats. We're going to get into that here in a little bit, but I want Georgia to really kind of do a little bit more deeper introduction of herself and really what got her here today.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Yeah, so for me, really, I've been looking all my life to do something a little bit different. And there's often, when I look back, there's often been times where I've like torn up the rule book, done things a little bit differently. And then I found yoga. That's where it started. I took myself off to Bali. I trained in yoga. And once I immersed myself into this world and realized how much of it is so impactful, so transformational for the world we're living in today, where stress is normal, whether we like it or not, I've realized that actually it doesn't have to be. And for me, what was really important was, okay, how do I balance my ambition for success with this level of calm and being able to reach my goals without a shred of burnout? So that's where the retreats come from. And that's why I do what I do, because I kind of found the key to that and I want to share it with as many people as possible.
So let's get to that part of our life or that phase of our life where we just don't want to wake up anymore because we hate what we do professionally. And I remember this quote that I heard a long, long time ago, and it's really kind of appropriate for today. The quote is, "Don't blame a clown for acting like a clown. Ask yourself, why do you keep going to the circus?" And every day, I know that I've had some jobs, Georgia, that quite honestly, it felt like I was going to the circus every day. And it seemed like my job, whatever that job might have been, I felt like I was dealing with a bunch of clowns. But at the end of the day, I was having to shovel all the elephant poop every day. and it just got old. There's nothing worse than the smell of elephant poop, especially when it's only about 3 feet away from you on a shovel end, right? And so really, we all can. I don't think there's very, very many people in this world today that can say that they've had no job ever like that. I think we've all experienced that somehow in some way. So let's talk about you. Tell us that tipping point that really got you to where you said, enough is enough. I need to do something different than what I was currently doing in my professional career.
Yeah, I'd got to that point. So I really relate to that. And I really see people and really acknowledge and emphasize with anyone who is in that situation now, because that was me. And I think you can do it for a while. And to be honest with you, you can do it for the rest of your life. And that's kind of the cycle that it's really easy to get stuck in. But for me, I had something that broke that cycle for me. And ultimately, I got to a point where I'd achieved what I was supposed to achieve and more in my job. I'd been promoted, all these awards. I'd made millions of pounds for the company that I was working for, but I still just I didn't feel great. I actually felt worse than when I first started in the company, and I had all of that ambition. But as soon as I got there, that's when I was like, what am I doing this for? For me, actually, I started to be in crowds of people, and it was a lot of this came from the yoga. I'd started yoga to manage the stress in my job, ironic. But by spending time with these people in the wellness industry, entrepreneurs, people who were doing something in this space, I thought, hang on a minute, you have all the freedom in the world. And that was it for me. My time freedom was zero. I was cash rich and time poor. And it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make any sense. Why am I earning all this money if I have no time to spend it? It doesn't make sense. So that's when I went on this mission to really explore that world. And I did that for a while. I did it for about 18 months until, and this is what I think is so key, the fear of staying where you are has to be more than the fear of change. And for me, I was so scared of staying where I was. And for me, the idea of change, even if I had no idea what I was leaping into the unknown, the idea of change wasn't that scary at all. I was actually really excited for it. I think that's what holds a lot of people back. It's this fear of like, oh God, I can't change anything. And that's not through any fault of our own. You know, we're humans, we're wired for safety, for security. Our brains form these patterns to keep us safe, to keep us protected. But we need to remember, is this really keeping me safe? Or am I actually better making a leap, maybe falling, but getting back up again?
Well, if anything else, people should reach out to you. The audience should reach out to you just because you've done it and you've done it for the right reasons and you've done it well. But anyway, let's talk about now retreats. I know that I truly believe that you need to find that place to really get your harmony back, find yourself, you know, get yourself to where you really feel on balance. And I know that there's one sound in this world, and it doesn't matter where I am, I could be anywhere in the world, but when I hear this sound, I automatically feel centered and I feel just at ease. And that's the
Mm.
sound of when the wind blows through pine needles on a tree. There's a certain whistle that happens with that. And all I can remember as a young man and even a boy, that when I was with my dad and we'd be fishing or hunting or whatever, hiking, that that sound of that whistling through the pines always just brought me back to just a very, very happy place. And I know
Mm.
that's not exactly what a Sancti retreat is, but it pretty much it's there to help you get to that place of centered, right?
Mm.
So tell us about what a Sancti retreat is.
Yeah, so I really like what you said about that feeling. And it's really interesting because I think when you think about going on a retreat, you think, oh my goodness, like it's so easy to be relaxed when you're in that environment. And partly, yes, definitely, I agree, but partly no. And really, the reason for these retreats is all about growth. So whether you're a business owner, business leader, CEO, or whether you're simply interested in this for you, you have to realize that with growth comes challenge. So, in that moment of stillness, of what's supposed to be bliss, sometimes the things that come into your mind are really aggravating. And this is why we don't all meditate every day for 2 hours a day, right? Because we don't like to sit with our thoughts. But the thing is, with the retreats, it creates this immersive experience where you can use these tools, like meditation, for example, to really create that stillness, but know exactly how and why you're doing it. It's very intentional. So I think a lot of us, when we try and be still, we try and relax, we stop because our mind's so busy and we're like, I could be doing something more productive. On the retreat, it forces you to stop, but it also gives you the tools to know what the heck you're doing. Because this is it. We're thinking, how do I meditate? I don't know how to do that. What do I do with my spare time? And the reality is, it's all about self-discovery and self-actualization. So that's what the retreat does. And for me, the reason why I wanted to create this retreat experience is because that's exactly what I wanted back then, but it's now what I want now as a leader of a business. And even a couple of weeks ago, I was in the most peak season of retreats, summer season, and super, super busy right now. And I said to my team, look, I'm going on a retreat. And I guess to some people that can be crazy, like, what, you're so busy, like it's your peak season, why would you go on a retreat? But the reason I did that is to practice what I preach. And when I came back from that retreat, I was so energized, I was so fired up, I had all these new ideas, all this space for innovation that I didn't have when I was in the business. And now I had coming out of it and stepping back, having that perspective. That literally, I remember you even said it to me, didn't you, Roger? You were like, we need to get you on retreats more often. And my personal branding manager said the same thing, you know, we need to get you on retreats more often because I'm practicing what I preach. And this is a whole thing. I think if you are a business leader, you need to know two things. First of all, it's how to run and operate a business effectively. But second of all, it's how to take yourself away from that. Create the space that you need for innovation, because we need space for innovation. And it's really interesting whenever I think about the reasons for the treats and things behind it, I always start with business, but then when I look at what I come out with, what the answers I come out with, that applies to personal life too. So yeah, it's really to embody the full experience of these methods that maybe we've heard about, but we don't really know what to do with. And we really want to harness them to become the best of the best. And the great part is we can have fun along the way.
So you just brought up something that I want to just talk about. You just mentioned how we are afraid of our own thoughts. Why is that?
Wow, what a question. I think that's a really complex question and it requires a complex answer. But if I'm to think about what I know about and what I've experienced with being with my thoughts, it's because of the way that our brains are wired. So it comes to literally how we are wired as human beings and how our brains are wired. So when we are young, we are like sponges. We absorb all of this information, everything about the world around us, every single thing our parents say and do, every single thing that's happening around us. And that happens until about 7 or 8. And in those moments, whether we realize it or not, our brains are wiring for the rest of our lives. You know, they're creating strong patterns because everything that we know, we're learning. And so we learn, okay, if I stay the same, I'm safe. If I change, I'm not safe. If I cry, I get attention. Those sorts of things. And so as we get older and we bring ourselves into the corporate world or school or whatever, we've got all of these experiences that some people experience what I call big T trauma, and that kind of sparks this sort of journey, but all of us will experience some kind of small T trauma. So I think it's the result of what's happened to us in our lives, whether we think it's like seemingly insignificant or not. And it really is, it's all of our insecurities coming up to the surface because they live in the subconscious. And we spend so much time in our conscious mind, we forget about the subconscious mind. So we go into that in meditation and we don't like what we see. We don't like what we're faced with. But guess what? What we're faced with is the exact things we need to face, address, be aware of in order to grow and to change. So if we never look at it, we can go along our lives never looking at that, never listening to our thoughts, never being still. That's fine, but you're not in the driving seat of your own life.
So why do you think that's so relevant today? It just seems like we are, I'm a business owner. I have 4 different businesses, and I don't see that very much with my employees, with my management team, all the way down to the frontline employees. But I know out there in the world, that's all we hear about anymore, is that people are just unhappy. And are they bringing that unhappiness to work from their personal life, or is it really a stem from their professional lives, or both?
Both. I think what's happening is we have built a society of people who don't know what they want. So we've been through a lot as a culture, as a society globally recently. We can't forget that. A lot of everything we knew, as soon as that pandemic hit, it all went away. Everything that we trusted, everything that made us feel safe, it left. And guess what? It's not looking any safer now, is it? Everything that's going on in the world. So now I think there's a sense of, in some ways, hopelessness. But whenever I work with someone from a coaching perspective and ask the question, okay, what do you want? Not many people know that. And so that's what I think is it's difficult to face that. When you sit in stillness and you say, oh, what do I want? You're like, I have no idea. And partly sometimes it's fear. We don't want to, everyone has, I believe, these incredible ideas and unique gifts that we all just have as humans. We're all unique, we're all different, and we all have our own gifts. But for some reason, there's that fear that often really suppresses that gift and suppresses us from what we really want. And we think things like, oh, there's no way that could ever happen, so I'm not even going to let it enter into my mind. So we're not even dreaming anymore. And that's why often people will say, oh, you're such a dreamer. And yeah, I am a dreamer, because I want to dream up the most incredible life for myself. And in doing that, I want to bring as many people with me as possible. But that's taken a lot of self work to realize what do I want.
So let's talk directly to the business owners and team leaders. Where are they falling short on helping themselves? Number one, because you always got to start with yourself. If you're gonna help fill everybody else's cup, you need to fill your cup first. All right. And so where are the business owners and team leaders, managers falling short today in helping themselves and helping their staff get over exactly what you just referred to?
Perspective. We don't create enough space for perspective, for new ideas, for new environments. Things that when we're talking about, okay, when we're young, all these patterns are formed and we're staying exactly as we are. If we want to change by taking ourselves into a new environment, we automatically create perspective. And that's when information, new ideas can be absorbed, can be created. But really what I'm seeing is people doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. For business leaders, I think the best place to start is accountability. So if you want to make some kind of change, if you are dedicated to creating this space for innovation, then you have to start with yourself. And one of my number one rules is get a coach. You need that accountability. And when you've got that accountability, you can then start saying, okay, what do I want? What does my business want? What do we need? And how do we get there? from a totally different perspective that really prioritizes you and prioritizes balance. So we can have all the business coaching in the world, but if that's not looking at your life as a whole, it's not going to work. If you are off kilter, your business will be too, and so will your team.
All right. You just convinced me. I'm going to change my perspective. I'm moving to Ibiza, and I'm going to be your partner there. I love it.
Fabulous.
So a lot of business owners, a lot of managers, they've all been taught to really talk about and really think about and really think only about the return on investment. So what is the real benefits to exactly what you were saying about that perspective, changing the perspective, changing everybody's thought process, mindset, everything from top to bottom? What are those benefits?
So whenever someone asks me this, it's so simple, because businesses are made up of people. And so if your people are at the best, including you, then so will your business. And by allowing yourself, your team, whatever that might look like, to go into a new environment, to immerse yourself into new experiences, unique experiences, new mindsets, expand your mind, then you're going to be at your very best. You've created space for innovation. And when you think about return on investment, it's unparalleled. You'll remember this experience for the rest of your life, and so will your team. And the breakthroughs that happen on that, the ideas, the level of connection. I think we're living in a world of disconnected employees. A lot of our teams are remote or partly remote. Regardless of that, we're a bit disconnected, let's face it. So by reconnecting into a new environment, people to people, peer to peer, with each other, and you're actually dedicating the time and the space for this, can you just imagine what would be possible? It's uncomprehendable to me. So really, I think the businesses that do this, they're going to be flying in years to come, and the rest, they're going to be left behind. And it's so interesting because it feels like we're on this new wave of wellness, and companies like, we probably should do something about that, but have not really got an idea of where to start. But this just embodies it into an in-person experience. What better way to learn something new than to dive in? So return on investment wise, you're going to have a really thriving self and team.
I absolutely love that, and I'm glad that you brought up that really business isn't about the numbers, it's about people. You can't have numbers unless you have at least a minimum of two people, one selling something, one buying something. Business is not commerce, or should not just be about commerce. Today, I hate to say it, but there are three colors I almost despise in today's world of business. Number one is the color green. Everybody talks about how cash is king. And I know, in other countries, cash might not be green in color, but here in the States, it's all about the green. I need more cash, I need more cash, I need more cash. That's all they focus on. Then the other two colors is black and red. Black means my business is doing well. It's got a bottom line that's positive. Red means there's typically a parentheses around that color red, and it means you're at a loss. And that's all a lot of businesses focus on. So tell me, in your own words, in your own views, what color is people? If I'm a business owner, which I am, and I shouldn't be worrying about the green, the black, and the red, because that's all it just emphasizes numbers, dollar amounts. What is your color of people, and what should we really be focusing on?
Blue. Blue just came to mind for some reason.
Is that Mediterranean blue?
It's a Mediterranean blue, exactly.
Atta girl.
Yeah. But it also, for me, it signifies space. And when we're talking about return on investment and numbers and figures in a business, it's not to say they're not important. Of course they are, but you're forgetting something, and that is the blue, and that is the people. So carry on doing what you're doing, but also give yourself the space for innovation, especially when you're talking about the color black. You know, businesses like, oh, we're doing well, we'll just sit here now. You won't be sitting there for long. Best start
Exactly.
innovating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess the color blue people, it's all about that space, and it's all about creating a culture of like really genuinely thriving teams. You know, I think we're really missing that now. And we know we need to look after our employees, but I think businesses are stuck on how to do that. I spoke with someone today who was like, we need to do something for well-being, but we have no idea where to start. Obviously, I said a retreat, but you know, it's these real experiences. You know, you can't just download an app for the whole of your company anymore and count your steps. You have to do something more than that. And so, and it's so simple. It's not complicated. Yeah.
All right. So now let's get down to the nitty gritty here. What do you guys do at your retreats? Why is it something that I should do as a business owner? And why should I bring my teams to a Sancti retreat?
I love that. So ultimately, it's that combination between what you kind of might expect from a retreat in terms of an element of serenity, beautiful locations all over the world, yoga, meditation, all of that. But we combine that with expert facilitators. So some businesses will come to me and they're like, look, we want to combine this with our business goals, and we can do that. And that's where the magic kind of happens, because if you're in a new environment, you're more receptive to new ideas. Your brainwaves literally change, and you create much more space to absorb, to learn, to grow. And then if you introduce an expert speaker or a guest or a facilitator or a new activity to the mix, that's where you're really going to absorb all of that information and take it back with you after the retreat. So it's really a combination between what you kind of would expect from retreats, but also the best of the best when it comes to mindset, growth, productivity, innovation coming into that, and of course, adventure. So mixing it up with some adventurous activities, you know, trying something new, taking yourself into a forest in the middle of nowhere and trying archery, scuba diving, paddleboarding, surfing, whatever that might be for you, having fun along the way.
And being on the Mediterranean.
And being on the Mediterranean.
All
No,
right.
experiences never go away. Memories will, those memories will always be with you.
Yeah. So a lot of times I've gone to, I don't know if they're ever called retreats, but I've been to workshops, conventions, and you get energized. I mean, you just get energized. You feel like, oh my God, I'm going to go back and I'm going to change the whole world of my business or my department, whatever that might be. And then as soon as you get back, you get right back into that pool of waist high alligators biting at your butt, constantly. So how is what you do going to be more long term than everything being erased on day one when I walk into my place of work?
This is about really bringing you more tools in your toolbox. So it's introducing you to new concepts, activities, methods that you can use in your daily life, whether that be your life or your business. So, for example, some of the people who have come on the retreats before, they've said to me, you know, what really changed everything for me was the breath work. Now, every morning, you know, I'm a busy CEO, I'm constantly on, but every single morning, I sit in my garden, I make myself that space, I can see myself as if I was at the retreat still, and I do my breathing exercises, and that just sorts me out for the day. And then other people say, you know what, it was just a shift in perspective. I needed that. I needed to see things differently. And now I'm going back. I realize I was probably quite groggy with my employees before. And now I'm not. And I'm just noticing that change in myself. So there's a lot that is really important. And for me, these retreat experiences are my life. This is how I live my life. Every morning, I will meditate, I will do journaling, I will do yoga. Not all of them, probably just one of them. But I will do one of those three things every morning. And if people have the experience of it, they've tried it before, it's something super simple that you can just take back into your little nugget of the retreat, you can take back into your normal life, then that's going to change a lot for you.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being my guest speaker today. This has been absolutely, actually, it's been rewarding just listening to the conversation, even though I know we've had many others, but I almost feel that sense of serenity right now just through the conversation. So thank you very much for being my guest speaker. And why don't you leave us with one more just piece of inspiration directly from you, your heart, your soul, to the audience?
For me, I think in this world that we are living in, it's really easy to take it unnecessarily and unproductively too far when it comes to stress and hard work. We need to remember that it's not always necessary, it's not always productive. And sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to just slow down, to stop, create some space, and then go back. Yeah, there's a lot in that.
Nice. Well, I can't thank you enough, Georgia. Why don't you let everybody know how they can get in touch with you if they want to talk to you more about your coaching, your retreats, or just talk to you about how you went from being in the corporate world to the entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Georgia St.John-Smith, and you can find my website, sancti.co.uk, which is sancti.co.uk.
Well, thank you again. And everybody, please, we're at that stage of our careers, our lives, the world in general today. Please reach out, because this is really someone that you need to speak to probably sooner than later, just to help you move on with whatever's going on in your life. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Likewise, Roger.
My podcast wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for my sponsors and my great supporters. So let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them. First of all, I want to thank Rebecca at Custom Bookkeeping and Accounting, delivering trustworthy bookkeeping services since 2003. Dave and Dara at Virtues Matter, making this world a much happier place to be with their Virtues card apps, coaching, and workshops. Stephen at Buller Accounting, giving business owners depth and insight to their numbers. Eric and his team at Ivy Cat Web Design, the real superheroes of web development and design. Jennifer and Jean at the Seavers Real Estate Team, serving Pierce and Kitsap counties with their home buying and selling needs. Maury at the Maury Method, the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, helping everyone have more clarity, less stress, and overall better brain health. Priya at Pivot My Profit, helping individuals and businesses have better control of their finances and more money at the end of their day. Melissa at the Soul Vibe Energy High, the queen of the aha moments, helping individuals find those holes in their cups, repair the hole, and gain back their positive energy. And finally, Rick at West Sound Recording. You talk, they do all the rest. Thank you, Rick, for all your efforts with the production and editing of my podcast.